The Sopranos and How I Met Your Mother, two totally different shows plagued by an unfortunate problem. Today, I want to discuss a story construct that both programs share that left many fans unsatisfied. The Sopranos is often known for having a polarizing ending in its finale, Made in America, which is still hotly discussed to this very day. But lost in that conversation is that in the penultimate episode, The Blue Comet, one of the show's most important storylines reaches a rather sudden conclusion. This episode is the last time that we see Tony's shrink, Dr. Jennifer Melfi. The abrupt finish to the 7-year therapeutic relationship between Dr. Jennifer Melfi and Tony Soprano stands out as one of the most divisive storytelling decisions in The Sopranos. After years of complex character development and psychological exploration, many viewers felt the termination of their professional relationship lacked the emotional resonance and narrative satisfaction that such a pivotal relationship deserved. I mean, seriously, this storyline is more neglected than Pedro Pascal's agent's other clients. As a reminder, after 7 years of treating Tony and navigating numerous conflicts, Dr. Melfi is put on the spot at a dinner party when her therapist, Elliot, reveals to her colleagues that she is Tony Soprano's psychiatrist.
The answer is a female opera singer and gangster.
Understandably upset by this breach of confidentiality, Melfi confronts Elliot, but he dismisses her concerns, insists that it's cool because they're among professionals. The public embarrassment prompts Melfi to review a study discussed at the dinner, which claims that talk therapy does not rehabilitate sociopaths like Tony. Instead, it enables them to become more skilled manipulators. The study also notes that criminals often display compassion for pets. Remember this, it'll be important later. Convinced by the study's findings and her colleagues' arguments, Melfi becomes cold and direct in her next therapy session with Tony. After chastising him for ripping a page out of a magazine in her waiting room, the appointment suddenly concludes as Melfi tells Tony she can no longer help him and wishes not to waste his time. Tony, surprised and hurt, protests that they are making progress and even highlights that her rejection comes shortly after he suffered a family tragedy, but Melfi stands firm. After a brief, tense exchange, she asks him to leave, closes the door, and definitively ends their 7-year relationship. Now, How I Met Your Mother is a 2000 sitcom that follows Ted Mosby as he recounts to his children in the year 2030 the long, winding story of how he met their mother 17 years prior, the identity of whom remains a mystery throughout the series. The pilot episode introduces Ted to his on-again, off-again love interest, Robin, and their relationship becomes the center focus of the show. Regardless of Ted's infatuation, we are told from day one that Robin is not the mother, and she ultimately marries one of Ted's best friends in the show's finale. The true mother is introduced slowly over the course of the show's final season and seems to be the perfect happy ending for Ted. However, the series finale of How I Met Your Mother revealed that the mother died of an unspecified illness in 2024, 6 years before Ted recounts the story to his children. Despite Ted's years-long journey to find his wife, the finale abruptly pivoted to his reunion with Robin, with his children improving the relationship by noting, "This story isn't about how mom died, it's about how you're ready to ask out Aunt Robin." This conclusion, planned by the creators since season 2, clashed with 9 seasons of character growth that had shown Ted moving beyond Robin, and Robin prioritizing her career over marriage. Fans criticized the finale for undermining the mother's significance, regressing multiple characters' development, and forcing a contrived return to the pilot's premise. What we have here is narrative whiplash. We spent 9 years heading in one direction, and then we were forced right back to the starting line in the span of 20 minutes. All this exacerbated by the writer's rigid adherence to an ending conceived years earlier. Creators Carter Bays and Craig Thomas conceived the finale during season 2 and filmed scenes with Ted's children, played by Lindsay Fonseca and David Henry, in 2006 to preserve their youthful appearances. This decision locked the narrative into a conclusion that became increasingly dissonant as the series expanded beyond its initial 3-season plan. This is well known, but irritating nonetheless. It's understandable that the creators wanted to use the footage they had shot, but sometimes things change. This ending has tarnished the show's legacy and was even so disliked that an alternate ending was created for the show's DVD release, where none of it ever occurs. Okay, so now back to The Sopranos. Dr. Melfi's decision to terminate her treatment of Tony is equally dissonant based on the character growth and story we have watched unfold for 7 years. And this is why the resolution to the Melfi-Tony saga is also widely criticized by fans. Following no drastic changes in their dynamic during season 6, we are quickly fed a contrived dinner party scene during which the topic of treating criminals is broached. Melfi is apparently too emotional to wait 10 seconds to ask to speak to Elliot privately, and instead accuses him of setting up the conversation to make her feel guilty about being Tony's therapist. Elliot then decides to just straight up violate HIPAA because he's a dick, and then Melfi is so embarrassed she decides to end it all with her patient just weeks after his son attempted suicide. The dinner party scene evidenced the broader concern that this ending was more a function of narrative necessity, clearing the board for the series finale, than a natural culmination of Melfi's character journey. It is entirely unsatisfying. The first scene, the first fucking shot of the show is Tony waiting to begin therapy with Dr. Melfi. The entire plot is driven around this. And we have seen their relationship go through the most wild ride imaginable. We have witnessed ethical concerns, jealousy, sexual tension, erotic dreams. We saw Tony endanger her life, and we saw her relish the thought of invoking her relationship with Tony to enact violence. It felt like it would take a lot more than a joke at a dinner party to convince Melfi to sever ties with Tony, especially after she continued to see him post threats, violence, and professions of love. They had a complex psychology to their relationship. Melfi became a mother figure to Tony, one he was obsessed and infatuated with, and Melfi became emotionally entangled with Tony, experiencing a vicarious thrill by treating him. And so we deserved a better ending to that arc, something that didn't contradict Jennifer's established character, or at least a more nuanced build-up to the ending that we did get. Even Lorianne Bracco has stated that she was annoyed by the ending to the Tony Melfi storyline.
Use this! Go! Get out! Go, go!
Oh, shit! Whoa. Tony marries Dr. Melfi?
So herein lies the irony. The ending to the Melfi-Tony plotline was weak, but it actually would not have been earlier in the series. Had the same exact scenario occurred at the end of season 1 or 2, it would have worked. It would have worked quite well. One of the main beats from season 1 of The Sopranos is Tony using tricks he learns in therapy to be a more effective crime boss. Additionally, the ducks in his pool become a central motif in his therapy sessions with Dr. Melfi. These perfectly align with the findings of the talk therapy study read by Melfi at the end of the series. Also, when Dr. Elliot Kupferberg is first introduced as Melfi's psychiatrist in season 2, he is much more professional and tempered. He often warns her about her entanglement with a dangerous patient and expresses concerns for her safety, boundaries, and ethical responsibilities. And I could see this Elliot taking a strong stance against providing talk therapy for a criminal. But later on in the show, he is revealed to be more flawed. He is nosy, obsessive, and staunchly critical of Melfi. He is also titillated by Melfi's revelations regarding Tony and therapy, and even steers the conversation toward the subject. It's kind of unbelievable that he would do anything to jeopardize his connection to a famous mob boss by the end of season 6, which is exactly what he does at the dinner party.
Jesus Christ, Elliot.
Chill out.
Now, this is just an inference, and it's never been confirmed by David Chase, but I think it's wise to suggest that, like in the case of How I Met Your Mother, Chase conceived this ending to the Melfi storyline very early on in Sopranos production, and unfortunately did not adjust it as the story unfolded. The study Melfi reads is actually a real study, but it was published in 1976, so it's something that could just as easily have caught Chase's eye when he was writing the characters. Many components of this ending are explored early on. The compassion for animals, the tactics deployed by Tony to strengthen his position in organized crime, the threat to Melfi's life at the end of season 1, and the fact that she faces a real-life consequence for choosing to remain Tony's therapist. Remember, when she is forced to go into hiding, she is unable to see her patients, and one of them commits suicide. She blames Tony for this. All of this actually would create a natural situation where Melfi seriously reconsiders her treatment of a mob boss and reaches the conclusion she does in The Blue Comet. It also might make her angry enough to explain the coldness and harsh tone when standing up to Tony. After 6 seasons of work, resolutions to conflicts, and by all accounts Tony being a well-behaved patient for over a year, the reaction does not fit. That's not even counting Tony being shot by his uncle, nor the tragedies that befell AJ. It screams of a story beat that was determined early on but not adjusted to fit the narrative structure of the story. Chase imposes this preconceived ending to the most interesting dynamic in the series the same way that Baze and Thomas forced Ted and Robin together in the How I Met Your Mother finale. It's a good lesson for writers everywhere. If your story and your characters adjust, your ending must too. Sometimes it takes on a life of its own, and you need to nurture what you have and not what you thought it would be. What's most frustrating is, unlike How I Met Your Mother, The Sopranos was not beholden to a particular ending due to pre-recorded footage. They had every opportunity to give the Melfi plotline a more satisfying conclusion. It's disappointing that she didn't play some role in the final conflict of this series. Perhaps she could have faced another real-world consequence for choosing to continue to treat Tony and realized that she must stop. Maybe she could have witnessed mob violence on the news and questioned her own culpability. Or maybe after years of therapy with Elliot, she would finally accept her emotional dependency on Tony and recognize the destruction it is causing in her personal life, which I think could have paved the way for a much more emotional climax between the two of them. Or maybe even if you wanted to get really crazy with it, the show could have taken it a step further and have had Tony's therapy sessions play a role in the war with New York. He could have met his demise after Melfi is forced to betray him and reveal his whereabouts. Phil and Butchie uncover Tony's relationship to his therapist, and the man in the members-only jacket makes his move as Tony leaves her office. I have seen this storyline defended as it's about Melfi reaching a long overdue moment of clarity about her ethical position and what it meant to be treating a mafioso, but I think the majority of fans are not pleased with the lost potential of this resolution. This was television's most complex exploration of therapy, ethics, and the potential for personal change, and we deserve better than a magazine page being the straw that broke the camel's back. I know that other shows suffer from this problem too, but How I Met Your Mother is the most egregious example out there, and I truly believe that if it weren't for the eventual drama in the Sopranos finale, then this would stand out as another such case.
Did you put her up to this? She just happened to mention this study?
So now I really want to hear from you in the comments. Does the parallel to How I Met Your Mother make sense? Do you agree that this ending to the Melfi plot was in mind from the beginning? Did you like it? How would you have rather seen the story play out if you didn't? Thanks so much for watching this video today. I really appreciate the support.